Hi and welcome to the live stream. I'm so lost, like it feels like a million years ago, and I'm sorry I couldn't do, well, I'm not sorry, but I couldn't do the Zoom call last week because my migraines were not working for me. So it feels like a long time ago, but I'm glad to be here with you again. So we have interesting light conditions, which is fitting for the theme of the month. I have my studio. I can't really turn my camera, but I have my studio, and I have one side is windows, which is nice. But I also live very, very high up, and now the sun is going down. I'm going to show you. Wait, here. So, not only can we make shadow animals. Oh yeah, I want to take a photo of that. Hold on. You thought you were here for the serious, like, painting, but you're here for dinosaurs on the moon. Anyways, so the sun is going to go like that way, you know what I mean? And it's gonna blow out my camera. So I'm gonna have to dial in a little bit every now and then. Check how that is. Or we could just leave it like this for an hour and watch the sun pass over the moon, which would be fun. Anyways, welcome Kelly, Ariana, Marios, my mom, and Linda and Rosie. Welcome, welcome. I'm gonna do a little bit of glazing. I totally blew myself up with my weird manic, let's do a whole meter of paper and la la la. I might be painting on it a little bit more later this week, but for now just do the moon. I went to a museum yesterday with Ariana, the singer museum here in Lyon. And we found another really great lady that no one's ever heard of. And apparently her grandson was the one who sort of discovered her paintings. And her name is Suzanne Perlman. You can Google that. She is Dutch-Hungarian. And she fled to Curaçao during the Second World War and lived there for a long time. Anyways, I got this monster book. Look how big it is. Look how fat. Cost me an arm and a leg and possibly more body parts, but we're not talking about that. And I just love this. I'm just gonna go and show you some stuff. Look. Wait. Let me cut to how cool is that? Here's another one that I really like. This is called Jacob and the Angel, The Struggle for Identity. And this whole book is like full of her work. This guy, hold on. Her grandson, Ariana, has a reel on her stories on Instagram. if you want to hear him talk, which is very, very interesting, and I very much recommend. So you can go, if you follow Ariana, you can go to her stories right now. So this guy cataloged and documented literally everything, and we were at the museum, and I said to Ariana, this girl died in 2020, so that's like 6 years ago, and I was really confused because she was an adult, Second World War, my brain was mathing but not really, and she got to be 98. Wow. So yeah, she had a lot of paintings, and this guy was like, let's go, let's catalog all of this. So yeah, really cool stuff. Yeah, I did, yeah. It's so great you bought it. I did, like, my brain is like, whenever I go to an expo by a female artist, I'm gonna buy the expo book. Usually, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but in the Netherlands, usually when you go to a museum, they printed a book that goes with the exhibition, right? So my brain likes to be like, make up rules about what I can buy and what I can't buy, or what I need to limit myself in, sort of. So my brain was like, if I go to an expo by a female artist and there is a book that I can buy it. I will buy it. This was quite an expensive book, but I'm like, I'm gonna buy it. And I'm really happy with it because it's worth it, because it's so, it's full. Like, I believe all of her paintings are in there. So, we can share. Ariana, you can borrow it. Alright. I got the book for Jenny's exhibition. Oh yeah, cool. You got the book because of me getting the books. Yes, let's go. Let's get books. Yes, absolutely. I was so happy because you sent me so much awesome material, and when my art self-confidence is a little bit restored, I'm definitely going to do some stuff with that, or we're going to do some stuff with that, because Kelly sent me all these like high resolution photos and videos and stuff like that, everything. Jenny Seville, by the way, we're talking about before anyone goes like, who are you talking about? I missed the complete name. Who's the artist, please? Suzanne Perlman. Let me roll. Oh, there we go. So, what I really liked, haha, alright, the sun is really blowing. I can kind of, hello? Or I can kind of block it with my, okay. I can block it with my head. Let's go. So, that's a lot of talking. Let me, I have some golden open here. I have some paint gray, raw umber, transparent red iron oxide, and phthalo green. Phthalo green blue shade, which is different than phthalo blue green shade, right? Let's not make it confusing at all. And I have some glazing medium that is about 1 million years old, so I don't know if it's gonna, it's a little bit lumpy. Anyways, golden open is quite transparent in and of itself, even if it says like it's an opaque color, it's still quite transparent. So I was wondering, what color is the moon? Or does the moon even have a color, or is it all just ambient color? I don't know. And I believe that the color does, the moon does have color. Just that we have a lot of, sorry for the noise. We have a lot of, like, black and white photos of it. Let me get this layer on and then read up on the chat. So somebody asked, I don't know if it was on social media or somewhere else, I don't know where else it could be, but anyways, if it comes off, and it does not actually, it's quite, yeah, it's pretty solid. And what I found with this stuff, like, what's it called again? Marble dust, calcite. What I found is that when you want it to act as a crackle paste, and again I have a video on my YouTube channel, just a regular video. If you want it to act as a crackle paste, it will crack sooner and better when you put it on a rigid surface like a panel. And when you put it on paper or you put it on canvas or something that's flexible, it doesn't crack as much, which is kind of ironic because oil paint does the reverse. Yeah, it's a different kind of cracking. So that explains, because there are no cracks, and we didn't really, yeah, there's one little crack here. But overall, it's pretty uniform. And we didn't use a lot of calcite. If I added more, it probably would have cracked a little bit. So I think we got like the balance between the, what did we use? I can't remember. I think it was titanium white or something. Yeah, it was the binder and the calcite. I think we got it pretty down. Yes, let's read the chat. I got my 2 colors of oil paint to test next week. We got titanium white and the quinacridone magenta. Gamblin 1981 for the magenta. Cool, cool. Yeah, I'm curious if it works. I hope it works. I love golden open pens. Yeah, me too. I just, you know, ever since I started working with oils, my brain is like, I can't handle a paint in another formulation. But the thing is, if you just leave it for a while and come back to it. What I felt with Golden Open is that I was trying too hard to make it an acrylic replacement for oil. And I think that was my issue with that process, right? And now I treat oils like oil, paint and I treat acrylic paint like acrylic paint, and I don't try and make it behave like something that it's not, and I think it works better. So the moon has dark spots, which is probably where it's like a different component or something, I'm guessing. Has a bit of green in it as well, and I don't know if that's just, again, some scientific, I don't know what. But hollow green is like the greenest green. You gotta be a little bit careful with that. Loving this, thank you. It's, I didn't touch this for so long. It kind of becomes a thing. I have this capacity to overthink things that make you wonder why. Started thinking, I've never painted a moon. How can I paint a moon? Will it, what? Okay, let's stop thinking. You kind of make, yeah, we can try that. Try and make a little shadow so it's not like full moon. The scratchy noise is soothing, yeah, it is. It's just, why is that? Or is it some part of our primal brain? Why are scratching noises so chill? We made it nice and round. By we, I mean, yeah, almost a little wider than it is. Circles are such a bitch. Like, I can't draw a circle for the life of me. Stroking or scratching an itch, maybe. Yeah, maybe. It pulls a lot of paint. You know, these little pools of. I love this type of effect, right? Where you get when you have raised texture, and you go over. You can do the same thing with oil paint. It works the same. And then if you want the contrast to be higher between the highlights and the deeper parts, you can, well, that's a bit much. and let it dry for a little bit. And you can wipe off the paint from the raised areas, and you get this really nice patina effect. Circles, when I paint them, they tend to get bigger and bigger. Yeah, true. I do believe it's a matter of practice, but they piss me off so good that practice is a difficult thing. So anyways, how have you all been doing? What have you been doing? Because I didn't speak to you during the Zoom call, and usually during the Zoom call you tell me what you've been working on, or you show me some stuff. And now I have not had that, so if you want to tell me what you're working on, or what's going on, fill me in. Hello, Chris. Welcome. So the thing with Golden Open is, like I said, the formula is pretty transparent, and the only trouble that you then inevitably have is that you don't have very much coverage in the darker areas, right? So this is straight up paint, no water, no glazing medium. And I don't know if it's formulated like that on purpose, or if it's like inevitable, some kind of chemical thing in the sort of open. Let me check how the light's doing, by the way. Oh, we're doing fine. If it's like a chemical inevitability, or if they did it on purpose to, with the idea that people would use it for glazing, I'm not really sure. I tried to make a collage portrait today using the same reference that I already used twice, like collage with stuff that you stick on with glue. I saw Kara do that at some point. That looked kind of fun, but also creepy, like very creepy. I finished a fig in colored pencil, and now I'm prepping a sponge onion and a cluster of pink oyster mushrooms. You are on a vegetable and fruit kick. Yes, you are. But like a very specific vegetable and fruit. Like, You can tell anyone, yeah, I'm drawing a fig, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, whatever. But if you tell your art friends, like here, we go like a fig, that sounds like 5 weeks of intense labor. That's difficult. Like a fig is difficult. The figs have this weird, downy, almost like they have fur, but not really fur. Like fuzz, you know, like you have on your face, like that is so difficult. Creeps me out. Lynn, I've been dealing with, oh, poor Gretchen. She's having surgery, oh my god. Right, like right now. Oh, I'm gonna be like crossing fingers and stuff. My painter cousin asked to do a collab. Oh, that's cool, that's cool. Yeah, I'm also curious what a sponge onion is. Painting cards Christmas bonus, Christmas bonus in spring. Oh, spring onion. Oh, cool. Okay, I was like sponge onion. Why is there something on earth that I haven't eaten yet? Kind of like sponge onion though. Yeah, tell us about the operation if you want, though. Like, if you don't want to think about it now, it's also fine. Yeah, we have the cool side of the moon, like, why? There are actually these really, like, bright looking spots on the moon that are caused by craters. It's kind of interesting. So if you want, and this is golden open, this is what makes it really brilliant and at the same time difficult to handle, because if you want, you can reactivate golden open even after it's like surface dry. You can reactivate it by putting water on it, or they have a thinner that you can use, and you can pick it well, Here's the thing, they say that it becomes reblendable. It does not. That's not how it works. It does not become like the paint out of the tube unless it's on your palette where you can mix it aggressively with the thinner. If you do it on your work surface, basically what's going to happen is you lift it. And I had trouble with that when you work on, say, a portrait and you want to work with a wetter layer, or you want to pick up or reactivate a certain layer. It's going to sometimes pick up the layer that you don't want to pick up, right? So here, this becomes almost, and this is fine because it's the moon and not somebody's face, but this just becomes white, right? And I've had that happen on a portrait. And that may be something that you want to avoid. Be a little careful with. Golden Open, according to their files, that they always have these like technical spec file thingies. It takes about 6 days to fully cure. And when you think about that, when you think about the curing time, that's when I kind of realized, most of my oil paint dries in 6 days. So that's when I left it alone for a little while. And now, I come back to it and you can treat it as something on its own instead of an erotic replacement for something, which is what a lot of people tend to do. Like, people are not happy or are not dealing with a certain characteristic of a certain paint, and they start looking for a replacement that kind of has the benefits of what they're working with, but not the drawbacks. And yeah, that just never really works for me. But when it comes to reactivation and picking back up, this stuff is of course really cool, because you can reactivate it very locally and pick it back up. And you do that with oil paint, it's going to be a very fatty, slippery mess, right? I just have some water on my brush that you can kind of scrape out. Some lighter areas if you want. Oh, I really hope it goes well. Yeah, I really hope it goes well. Like, I always kind of want to believe that the bigger the animal, the better they might do under, anesthesia. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a risk, and I just really hope that it goes well. You're watching on the big TV, that is so cool. That's so cool. I always kind of forget that I can watch YouTube on my TV. I'm trying to see that if you, maybe you scrub your brush over it a little bit, over the tops. It's kind of fun. They have really cool photos, by the way. They have like a moon gallery on the website, on the NASA website. With really cool photos. I know that they enhanced some of the older photos, you know. Kind of not enhanced as an AI, but like restored to a higher resolution, which is really cool. See how easy that comes off? You could just do this weird therapeutic game where you just put on texture and take it back off all evening and just like force your brain to make dopamine. So yeah, the thing with this type of texture where it's raised is I like it, and at the same time it's very difficult. I found it very difficult to control the light, right? And I think I mentioned this at some point in my Let's Face It lesson of, I don't know if it was last year, I think it was last year. When you do raised texture on a face, it will cast shadows, and I don't know if I can. There's always a bit of delay in the video, so I'm just trying to see if this works on. Yeah, right. You can see a little bit. So you get this shadow here. See, if you see my my finger, the shadow that my finger makes. And so here's a crater, if you will. And this is the edge, and so you have a shadow. Let me point it out with my, you have this shadow here, right? And then when you change the light source, now the shadow changes, right? And it's a bit like it's Shadow Basics 101. hello. But when you're working on, hold on. So now the sun goes down, right? And the sun goes down, and it's like poof, sun's gone. I'm just gonna sit this live stream out without turning on my artificial light, otherwise I have to go and dial everything back in again. But the thing with this, like I said, raised texture, and the consequences of that when you start painting things is that it can end up in places where you don't want it to end up, and it can cast shadows in places that you don't want it to cast shadows. I find it, like, my brain finds it difficult to oversee how that's gonna look, right? And maybe it's like an experience thing, but at the same time, what I noticed is when I started doing exhibitions, I started showing my work, is that you create that raised texture and you do it under your own light conditions, and then you put it up somewhere and the lights are different, and you might end up with shadows that are like, oh, what the hell, that was not supposed to be like that, right? So that's a funny thing to work with, but it can also feel like a permanent thing, because sometimes, you know, this texture is not easy to take back off. So stuff like that, yeah. It's easier to practice this, I think, on a moon that is a bit more forgiving than someone's face, right? But it does give a very unique effect, because you get that patina effect when you start glazing. And it's visually, it's essentially different from creating texture with different values, right? When you create textures, like I did that in lessons before, with where I put paint on a piece of scrap paper and I stick it on, you know, and you kind of build your texture like that. In terms of then your texture as a result of a difference in value, which is different from building your texture in a material. And then either making it stand out by putting stuff on it, but even if you paint over it like here, that's going to show, right? So what I usually do recommend when you start with this, you do it in portraits, is to think about if you want texture in the shadows. Because if my intention was to paint a moon that is partially in the shadow, I would not be doing texture on the side of the shadow, right? Because the raised areas are going to catch light no matter what you do. Even if your paint is really matte, but especially with stuff like oil paint, it's going to glare, and your shadows are not going to be dark at all. So that's something to consider when you do this. And now the sun is going to go down. It's going to start here. It's going to travel over. I have some photos of my my paintings where the sun creates you know, these shapes, these yellow golden shapes, and it looks really nice. And I thought about doing that effect in glazing, but I wasn't sure how to do it because the light, and I think what's he called? Ian, who was on the Drawn Together show with Dylan, the guy who does the color theory stuff. He was like, I'm just gonna finish the paint that's on my palette a little bit here, so I don't waste it. He was, he does all this experiments with color, and he talks about the difference between color in like physical stuff like paint and color and light, which is essentially a very different thing. I was thinking about this effect. If you wanted to paint this, I think you would have to lighten up that area with white and then glaze over that with something like Indian yellow or something. It looks so badass, thank you. I think we had like 13 minutes. I think 13 minutes is enough to get like the sun. It's a shame that I didn't do like the shadow on the other side. maybe we can flip it and have like the sun like this. This is like the laziest form of painting where I'm like, oh yeah, let's make it cool with my sundown effect. Trying to get it darker, yeah, it's like not. That's a very interesting thing to think about, and the thing is, when that clicked in my brain, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should have thought of this much earlier, because again, it's rocket science, right? But when it comes to art, sometimes, these really basic concepts, because you have so much to think about. And then sometimes these basic concepts of, oh yeah, my raised paint is going to cast a shadow, or it's going to form, like catch a highlight, because of its shine, is really not something that you consider. Okay, like I got a lot of stuff going on here. Hold on, maybe we can turn it around. I'm just kind of waiting for my, it looks kind of cool. That looks cool. Let me take a photo of that. A little bit like this, maybe. Sorry, I know I'm blocking my face camera. Look how cool. Look how cool that is. Like, it's... You can paint all you want, but... Yeah, this is like the coolest effect there is. I don't know how you would replicate something like that. That's really difficult. Ian is great. Who's Ian? Yeah, who's Ian? what's his last name? I gotta look that up. He was on the Drawn Together show. He wrote this book about color theory, and he has, hold on, oh, I think his name is Goldschmidt, something like that. Hold on, I got him on Instagram. Ian. Yes, so his Instagram handle is Goldschmidt. Oh, let me put it in the chat. Not Schmidt, but like Smith. Ian with an N. Goldschmidt Ian. So that's his Instagram. The way the light wraps under me. Yeah, it's the shape actually of my the curtains that I have, and they have like this fluffy thing, and it looks fun. But Ian is great, and on his Instagram he does a lot of stuff with colors and technical things that blows my mind. But he's got really nice, and he's just a really nice guy. Yeah, I'm not gonna paint him. I'm gonna leave it like this and just have a little. I like how the gold paint shimmers a little bit. I'm such a sucker for shimmer. So yeah, Dylan has his new course out right now, so I know that Ariana's gonna do it. I might do it if I have time. But that's out and cool. I really want to do some portraits again, or just faces, or just stuff. So I'll probably do that next month. This month. The upcoming month. The month of May. Anyone else cannot like deal with what's the next month. I have that in spring. Like March, April, May. Yeah. Faces. Faces, and also just in general painting, because I have not been doing that. So I'm gonna think about that. And shimmer-tacular, I like that word. That's like my tattoo on my arm kind of word. Okay, it's getting dark fast, so let's wrap it up. It's gonna be like this for a little while with me dialing stuff, because it's just, you know, in the winter, by the time I start streaming, it's 8 p.m. and it's just dark, and I turn on the light, and that's controlled, so we gotta run with this a little bit. So faces and more painting. Faces and more painting are the theme of next year. I will try and find like a nice word for that wraps it up, instead of paint more and paint more faces. So thank you as always for joining me. I hope the dog, like everybody, please think about the dog. Your migraine's too much, that sucks balls. Fuck migraines. I hope you feel better soon, Rosie. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna tap out as well. I will send you blogs and links and messages and whatnot, and I hope to see you next month during whatever comes first, the live stream or the Zoom call. So I love you. I love you, Gretchen. Please get better soon, and I will see you soon. Thank you for joining me. Mwah. Bye.